These are 5 tips to improve your acceleration. We're going to be categorizing each one of the 5 into specific drills and exercises you could do to help you improve your sprinting. So the 5 different parts are going to be your foot height, your leg cycle, the amount of force that you're putting into the ground, the landing as you're striking the ground and being able to better transition off of the ground, and then the arm action. The first one's going to be the force in the ground and just being able to improve the force in the ground. I like the nailing start just because it helps being able to understand how to be able to get the foot action here and the correct shin angle, right? So what we're just going to be doing is working on pulling that foot back and being able to strike the ground, and then from there, using that to help accelerate. Start off in a forward lean here, and for right now, I'll just be working just on my right leg. And what I'm gonna do is just get my foot all the way out, toe all the way out, and then I'm working on just pulling my foot right back underneath, and then being able to transition off and really getting specific into how I want that to feel. So then when I'm going through and accelerating, I can mimic that very easily. Just when I'm doing this, I want to be feeling my foot land right underneath my hip and maintaining a good dorsiflex position, which means that as my foot's striking the ground, I'm not turning my toe out. I'm landing on the inside part of my foot to make it so then as I'm transitioning off, I'm transitioning on the inside front part of my foot. Another good one's just going to be straight leg bound, just working foot strike, nice and quick with the feet as I'm doing this. Toes up, coming right back down. Don't want to get stuck with my foot on the ground. One of the best ways to work on your foot strike and your acceleration in general is going to be wall drills. So for this, we're just going to go and put all our weight on the wall. We could use a fence here. There's a few different things that we're going to be able to use. Feeling really like I'm falling forward. Like if I let go here, I'm going to fall over, right? So that gives me a good feeling of how I should be feeling with my ankles as I'm toeing off. And now we're just working on things like foot strike. So we could just go alternate marches here, where we're just working on driving right, forward, and through. Big thing with this is we want to get those toes up. We want to be able to get the knees up. And as we're doing this, just make sure that the knees are coming straight through. So we don't want to be wide with the feet. We want to be coming straight through with the knees. Okay, we could also do like a quick run here. Maybe take like 5-10 steps. So I'm here and I'm just right, and just being able to maintain a good forward position, nice and quick off of the ground. Another thing is we can work on striking the ground and getting the hips through. I want to start with my foot a little bit further back, but I'm just thinking about how to get my hips all the way forward as I'm striking the ground and just maintaining this position. I don't want to feel my hips back at all, right? And that's one of the things you can get in trouble with when you're doing a lot of these. You might get stuck with the hips back, okay? So if you want to go and do like wall runs, make sure your hips are staying forward with this and you're keeping everything nice and quick, really working on the front side mechanic. The next thing is going to be the foot height. The biggest mistake that I see with this is when people are coming forward, they'll want to lift their foot really high behind them here. What I think ends up being important is just being able to understand kind of that toe drag. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of dragging your toes as you're accelerating, but just start off and just go through their first few steps, just kind of dragging that toe a little bit there and just kind of getting that idea down of as you're pushing off, we're coming from low to high and not lifting here and then trying to cycle from that position. Another thing you could just do here would be running and kind of having like a sideways movement to it. So I'm forcing my foot to stay down as I'm pushing off. And then the last thing would just be working on bounds. When you're doing bounds, naturally a lot of times you'll just see people will end up not lifting back behind here. So we'll just work on being able to bound out, keeping that back foot nice and low. The next one here is just going to be the foot contact time. I'll face you guys for this. When we're landing, we really want to be landing with that heel as high up as possible. And so what I like to do for this is just work that end range of motion. So I'll go into having this heel all the way up and then just kind of squatting down into that position and just getting my foot the strength necessary to be able to land with that heel all the way up. And to go off of that, another thing that I'll do is I'll have my foot back behind, and then from here, just kind of work on that heel coming all the way up, all the way down. So this is kind of like a calf raise, but it's gonna be from more of a horizontal position, right? The traditional calf raise are gonna be more here, coming up and down. For this one, you're gonna be back behind, and then from here, working on being able to push all the way forward. And we just wanna have that good range of motion through the Achilles to be able to have the ability to slow down as well as be able to push off. And then the last one of this series would just be being able to get all the way down here and then working that same type of thing. So I'm all the way down, and now from in this position, I'm coming all the way up, all the way down. This really burns the calves very quickly, but it's great to help your foot strength when you're running. Another important part of this is just gonna be the push off, right? So as I'm toeing off, I really wanna be extending or pushing off with one leg, and then I'll land with two legs. So I'm gonna be here, and I'll push off. As I'm pushing off, I'm gonna keep my heel nice and high, land on two. Again, it helps having this just because it keeps you a little bit more balance, makes it so you can lean forward, get a little bit more weight on the front part of the foot, but you can technically do this without any resistance. When you're accelerating, what's important is being able to separate their hip and their ankle. So as they're coming off the ground, they wanna be both driving through with the knee as they're simultaneously pushing off with the toe, right? So you push back with the toe, but as that's happening, you're also driving the knee forward to make it so you're getting horizontal force, but you're also not wasting time and being able to get that foot right up. And so just being able to work on pushing while driving forward with the knee will help you coordinate that when you're running. One of the things I like to do when it comes to improving acceleration is going to be any type of resistance. This could be with different types of bands, even with a sled you could use this. So I'll use this to be able to help me out with my acceleration, making sure I'm landing a good spot, and also keeping my arms going, maintaining a good hip position as I'm going through this acceleration. So typically I'll do that for maybe like 3 or 4 sets, and then I'll just go through a sprint with no resistance. Big thing with this is now all of a sudden I'm gonna really feel all of my weight go forward, which is gonna force me to speed up my leg cycle here. The next part of the exercise is gonna really focus on improving the leg cycle. So first thing we're gonna start off is just gonna be a march. Again, this is gonna be acceleration. So I really wanna be thinking about, as I'm marching here, maintaining a forward lean. As I'm striking the ground, I do want there to be a good forceful action. Another one's just gonna be a falling start. So from here, I'm just working on kind of falling forward. And as I get to a point where I'm gonna feel myself actually go, I wanna be able to transition that right into running. So I'm gonna be here, fall, and then run. Focusing on how I'm striking the ground as I'm going through the falling starts. I'm gonna start with what would end up being my same foot forward, and then I would just wanna go and take 2 steps back, get in the position that I'd want to during my start. Again, just really focusing on that foot strike. Next one, we're gonna just be working on getting out from a 2-point stance. So when we're running the 40, we'll be in a 3-point stance. When we're out of the blocks, it'll be a 4-point stance. Here, we'll just get into kind of a scrunch position here, like we're gonna be accelerating, try to have a good understanding of where your feet are gonna be. And now we're just really thinking about exploding out here. Another big part of this is gonna just be working on overall power. So just doing some single leg broad jumps or even 2-leg broad jumps, really working on getting full range through the hips is a great way to be able to improve your acceleration. I'll go through a couple of those. All right, the last thing is gonna be the arm action, and I see so many people make the mistake of not having good arms when they're running. There's a few different drills you could use for this. We're gonna start off with the basic one. I have 2.5-pound dumbbells here, and what I'm just want to think about is as I'm going through, I wanna be able to get my dumbbell here to go all the way back, so I'm getting that wrist action. I wanna feel that in the wrist, and I also wanna make sure that I'm getting my hand back behind my hip, and I don't want to be going too far off to the side. I almost want to feel my knuckle come right up against my hips as I'm going through and working my arm action, right? Putting a big focus on pulling back. If you don't have weights, you can just do it without any weights as well. You just really want to be feeling that arm action, really working on like your arms being straight and being able to pull, just because that really gives you the opportunity to really feel those lats being engaged. I'll even do just like banded kind of lat pull type exercises, just because the big focus is on how we can get more range in the arm coming back. Obviously you don't want to be running like this, but if we can get more range in our shoulder pulling back and feel that range, that's going to be important with the acceleration. Now when it comes to your actual acceleration, we do want to see a violent initial elbow movement. We could also even go from like a kneeling position and have more of like this forward action and work on just driving those elbows forward as we're accelerating. And that really helps in being able to make it so then as I'm running, I can get into those same type of arm angles. One of the most common mistakes I see is people don't get enough height in their arm, and therefore they'll start falling forward and we'll start lifting the foot back behind. It's really important that as we drive, we're getting those elbows through, especially for those first 3 steps, to really make it so we can control our balance. What the arm coming forward does is it gives us that momentum to kind of get a little bit more upright and gives us that force in the front side to make it so I have balance and I have control. When you're accelerating, it's really about how well can I be falling forward with my feet. But if I don't have the necessarily arm action where I'm getting all the way forward with the elbow, then if I'm falling too far forward, I'm going to really end up actually falling forward. In order to be able to have good leg recovery and good leg cycle in general, we got to make sure we're getting the elbows through. So that is the conclusion of the video. Those were 5 different areas that you can work on with some drills, with some exercises to make it so you can get better within those 5 things. Again, I think it's easier to be able to categorize it. So if you watch yourself run, is it your arm action? Is it your leg cycle? Is it your foot contact time? Is it your foot height? You know, once you can kind of differentiate that, now you have some exercises to be able to make it so you can improve. So as always guys, if you like that information, click that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, you can leave those in the comment section down below. I hope you've been enjoying this new content that we've been producing for you guys lately. Let us know in the comments. We'll talk to you soon.